The woman crushed a sleeping pill into pieces with a kitchen knife, then dropped it into a baby bottle. She dumped in a scoop of formula that was crawling with ants, mixed everything together, warmed it up, and fed the entire bottle to her own baby. As she stared into her daughter's innocent eyes, she didn't feel a shred of guilt. All she could think about was meeting her lover, and bringing a baby along would only get in the way. Before long, the little girl fell into a deep, motionless sleep. But just as the woman arrived at the bar, her husband Joel unexpectedly came home early. He noticed ants floating inside the baby's bottle, and a terrible feeling hit him. Joel rushed to the nursery, only to find his daughter completely unresponsive. He raced her to the hospital, where doctors fought to save her life. Thankfully, she eventually regained consciousness. At first, Joel thought the ants had made her sick, but the lab results revealed the horrifying truth, filling him with rage. Watching the 4 needles slide into his baby's tiny arm, Joel broke down in tears. He could no longer tolerate his vicious wife. What happened next would prove just how terrifyingly intelligent this man really was. Joel was a quiet, introverted man who rarely expressed himself. After losing his job during the economic downturn, he became a stay-at-home dad, spending his days caring for the baby and reading romance novels. His wife, meanwhile, was the director of a private training institute. She couldn't stand seeing her husband unemployed while she carried all the financial burden. Over time, their lifestyles drifted further apart. Joel lived frugally, while his wife spent money without a second thought. One day, just after meeting her young assistant in secret, she received a call from the receptionist. Her husband had been waiting outside her office. Panicking, she unlocked the door. As Joel walked in, the assistant quickly pretended to organize some paperwork. She awkwardly introduced the two men, but the tension between them didn't escape Joel's notice. Suspicion immediately crept into his mind. On the drive home, he casually asked why she hadn't been wearing shoes in the office. She brushed him off, saying it was none of his business. Then she claimed she needed to meet a client and told Joel to head home first. Instead, she drove straight to her assistant's apartment. Excitedly, she showed him that she'd finally taken off her wedding ring. Meanwhile, Joel noticed something strange. His wife's keychain now had an extra key that definitely didn't belong to their house. The next day, determined to find out the truth, Joel secretly followed the clue. The moment the key slid into the assistant's apartment door, Joel's heart shattered. Nervously, he stepped inside, afraid of what he might find. Luckily, both of them were at work, but the messy bed was enough to tell him everything. Then he walked to the desk, where an even crueler sight awaited him. It was covered with photos of the two lovers. There were even pictures taken when his daughter was born. Joel returned home completely broken, but the moment he held his baby's tiny hand, he hesitated. He didn't even know if she was truly his biological daughter anymore. Even so, he couldn't bear the thought of letting such a young child grow up without a mother. So when his wife came home that night, Joel said nothing. He buried the truth deep inside. The next day, however, his behavior suddenly changed so much that even the bookstore owner couldn't figure him out.
자기 어디 아파? 이쪽은 연애소설 없어. 저쪽이야. 이젠 추리소설이야?
Meanwhile, the woman visited her assistant again. This time, she noticed a brand new toothbrush in the bathroom, along with baby supplies neatly placed in the corner. Furious, she demanded an explanation. Only then did she realize how frightening the assistant had become. She had only wanted a secret affair. He wanted an entirely new life with her. She couldn't wait to get out of there. After returning home, she suddenly became the perfect housewife. She cleaned the house, scrubbed the floors spotless, and decided it was finally time to end the affair. She wasn't willing to lose everything for her assistant. But once you cross a line like that, walking away isn't nearly as simple as it sounds. Just as she was trying to become a devoted wife again, she noticed a photograph sitting beside her makeup mirror. It was a picture of herself. Her face instantly went pale. Had her husband already discovered everything? Thankfully, she was the only person in the photo. She quickly hid it before Joel returned home, then hurried into the kitchen to prepare dinner. At the dinner table, she admitted she'd been emotionally distant lately and apologized for neglecting both Joel and the baby. Joel almost believed she had truly changed. He kept her affair a secret and chose to forgive her. Just as she thought everything was finally getting better, a series of mysterious phone calls interrupted the peace. Someone kept calling without saying a word. She nervously asked Joel if he recognized the caller's voice. Joel simply assumed it was a prank call. Moments later, he noticed a message on the table informing him that his former mentor had unexpectedly passed away. He immediately rushed out to attend the funeral. As soon as Joel left, the phone rang again. This time, it was the assistant. She finally exploded. She reminded him that they'd already agreed to end things and demanded that he stop harassing her. But the assistant was drunk and refused to let her go. He insisted on seeing her. She tried to refuse. Then he revealed he was already outside her house. To avoid Joel finding out, they agreed to meet at a nearby bar instead. The only problem was the baby. No matter how hard she tried, her daughter simply wouldn't fall asleep. Desperate to save her marriage, she made a terrible decision. She gave the baby half a sleeping pill and headed to the bar. She wanted to end the affair once and for all, but breaking free was easier said than done. As they talked, they both drank more and more. She had no idea that Joel had already come home early and discovered what had happened to their daughter. Meanwhile, the drunk assistant drove her home. By pure coincidence, Joel was returning with the baby at the exact same time. The sight before him left him frozen. He watched silently from a distance for several minutes. Yet instead of confronting them, he hid. Not because he was afraid, because he was waiting for the perfect moment. Only after the elevator descended did Joel quietly walk back toward his apartment. But the moment he opened the door, he froze once again. Somehow, the assistant had followed her inside. Joel witnessed everything he never wanted to see. Still, he remained completely silent. If you think that was cowardice, you seriously underestimated this man. The next day, Joel asked a friend to drive him to the train station. On the surface, he was heading to his mentor's funeral, but after boarding the train, he secretly slipped away and appeared at the assistant's apartment instead. Wearing rubber gloves, Joel collected strands of the assistant's hair from the bed. Then he found a knife hidden inside a drawer. That evening, while his wife was removing her makeup, she noticed an even more intimate photo of herself beside the mirror. She assumed the assistant was threatening her. She immediately called him, demanding to know what he wanted. At that exact moment, the power suddenly went out. As she walked toward the door to check the breaker, a large hand wrapped tightly around her throat. Joel threw her onto the bed. Then he picked up her phone and called the assistant once again. She desperately tried to scream, but only faint sounds escaped her lips. Joel slowly pulled out the knife. He stared into her terrified eyes. This time, he didn't hesitate. Only after her blood soaked the bed did Joel stop. He scattered the assistant's hair around the body, changed into clean clothes, and deliberately left behind the house key. After personally watching the assistant arrive, Joel returned to the assistant's apartment and smeared his wife's blood around the bathroom sink. Once everything was in place, he boarded another train to a different city. The following day, Joel called a neighbor, pretending he couldn't reach his wife and asking her to check on her. The moment she opened the door, she found the body. Police quickly sealed off the crime scene. They recovered the assistant's hair exactly where Joel had planted it. Investigators also discovered that one of the victim's fingers had been broken to forcibly remove her ring. In reality, after finding her dead, the assistant panicked and took back the matching ring he'd given her, afraid their affair would be exposed. Joel's performance was flawless. Combined with his airtight alibi, police ruled him out almost immediately. The assistant wasn't nearly as lucky. In the end, he was convicted as the murderer. Joel returned home with his daughter in his arms. Maybe he escaped the law, but he could never escape the shadow of what he'd done. As he looked at the family photos, tears of regret streamed down his face. The truth was, Joel had always loved his wife. Even after discovering her affair, he had genuinely tried to forgive her. But when she nearly killed their baby for her own selfish desires, she crossed a line he could never forgive. So if you were in Joel's shoes, whose side would you be on?